the things I would do. Those not so blessed will be crying out murder, and I just laugh and get away with it too. Like you do. If I was beautiful like you, I would never be at fault. I walk in the rain between the raindrops, bringing traffic to a halt. If I was beautiful like you, I'd be quick to assume they do anything to please me. Why not? I see the reaction when you walk into the room. What can never be, what will never be, 'cause I'm not beautiful like you. Beautiful like me, like me, like me. If I was beautiful like you, I'd have so many friends, all fighting for my time to be next in line. So if I hurt one, I wouldn't have to make amends. That can never be, that will never be, 'cause I'm not beautiful like you. I'm not beautiful like you. I'm not beautiful like you.
Yes, yes, that was Joy Drop. Beautiful. Oh, that's such a good one. My goodness. You know what? I haven't heard that song in such a long time. It's an old song, okay? My husband likes songs like that. The label, beautiful. And so, my husband always think about beauty, I guess. Anyway, that Joy Drop with Beautiful. And is this a good to watch? That video, the official, by Dummy Boy. It's a good video, so you should watch it on Dummy Boy's channel on YouTube. Anyway, good morning. Good morning. It's Monica, your friend Monica. Today is Friday. Happy Friday. For most people who work 9 to 5, today is the last day of work. Speaking of work, okay, so I tested my daughter. I trying to tag her on Facebook, and then call her. She hasn't been answering. So my daughter Layla, that's my third daughter, my third child. So I'm not getting a response. So I did something I know may not embarrass her, but I'm just now, since I tried directly, I'm not getting through. So I went to the where all her sisters can see, and her sisters, and stuff, and her dad and everybody, and then she finally texted back. That's Layla. So I was like, I texted in the group chat. I was like, what was it? I was like, oh, let's see. And I also texted her privately. So since he didn't respond, I went to the group chat. If I can find the group chat. Now, where did the group chat went? Oh, here it is. Okay. He said, does anyone know where is Layla? And then she texted back. Nobody but her texted. I'm at work. Unlike some people. You saying me. But my baby is wrong. I have a job. My job is to make these videos, to enlighten the public about the white degenerates trying to destroy our beautiful planet and all the raggedy ass shit they do. That's my job. My job is to try to bring to light obscure books that Dr. Parenti is preventing from illuminating out there, like the assassination of Julius Caesar's, a people history of ancient Rome, and like we read last time, the black shirts and reds, the rationalization of fascism and the overthrow of communism. And when we read How Europe Underdeveloped Africa by Dr. Walter Rodney, and like we read on the other books, the neoliberalism by Mr. Paga Wargan on the Ezra books. And so my job is just to, do this, that's my job. I know I'm not getting paid for it, but you know what? I'm giving people a different ethos, right? You don't have to get paid for shit. You just have to do stuff that are useful for the public, right? So that's my job. So my baby just don't like that because it doesn't generate a paycheck and it doesn't generate money that her mom can wire her from time to time. But I think my baby's gonna be all right. But I'm happy that she's okay, because if she didn't respond, I was gonna start panicking, and I have to ask my husband to drive all the way to St. Louis to try to find her, right? Because I love my babies, and I just want my babies to do well. Now, speaking of babies, there was a video that I shared yesterday. I shared multiple videos. One of the videos was a baby elephant, okay? And the baby elephant, she is my favorite babies in the whole world. I think baby elephant are the most dynamic. I mean, they're just cute as fuck. I mean, come on now. Baby elephant, they're bomb diggity in my view. And so baby elephant, she's drinking water in the river. And as soon as she saw a shadow, or in fact, the flowing tree branch, she started screaming and running away, going through her mom. And I thought that was hilarious. That one went viral, for my estimation, on my Facebook page, right? But then I noticed there is another one that didn't go viral, okay? And that was a baby tigers. There a bunch of them were coming, and they saw the quote unquote daddy. And as soon as he said, he was annoyed that his children are coming, and then he was running away. All right, like he didn't care that his babies was coming and greet him. He running away. So I was like, this motherfucker is a deadbeat. Okay. Now it's not only human who deadbeat. It turned out tigers and all these animals, which humans are one of them, we animals, I just that be, and and I just wanted to illustrate, like, listen, it's not just human, it's just not those broke guys who don't have enough money to pay their baby mama, right? And then they had to go through this whole humiliating thing, putting them in jail, garnishing their shit, and all this humiliation that these broke fathers go through. But you know what? It's not just the broke fathers who struggle to pay their baby the child support or pay their baby mamas. It's also the rich father, right? So sometimes, for whatever reason, it just doesn't come natural to men to know, like, listen, you have to help your baby mama, with the kids, because it's expensive, right? Kids need a lot of things. One of them being the way they're gonna live, the rent of that place is very expensive. And for a lot of mothers, I was one of them, it's just very expensive. Just rent alone. I'm not talking about everything else. And if you, quote unquote, love your children, you should want your children to stay indoors. That's the number one thing. So you should help your baby mama to make sure she can afford to pay rent, right? To me, so I'm telling all the baby daddies out there, you may not like your baby mama or something, but help her out with the rent. So at least your kids will have a place, consistent place they can stay. Just do that. I know she may use the money to go get her nails done and her hair done, but just forget about that. Just make sure, hey baby mama, I know you gotta get your cute so you can go see your little boyfriend, but here's the money, make sure you pay the rent so my babies have a place to stay, okay? And speaking of the baby daddies and baby mamas, do you guys remember some time ago it was a big scandal? It turns out Elon Musk, who is the richest man on planet Earth, there's nobody richer than him. He was having a baby daddy, baby mama issue. And what was shocking to me about that baby mama issue is the fact that the right-wingers, because remember, Elon Musk is big time right-wingers, they talk shit about us black folk, that the reason why we have the problem is because we don't know how to get families going together and act like a real mature and shit. It turns out that young white women, they too know they're gonna have this baby daddy, baby mama issues with, there's no food stamp, they don't want to give a shit, the state don't want to help you with nothing, they don't want to give a discount rate on rent or anything. So the way they remedy this, why black women, they call the welfare queen, and we should, because we gotta go show up to the public aid office where we feel humiliated. Young white women, they are trying to find out the sugar daddies, and like the Elon Musk and all these white freaks, including Donald Trump, and trying to get the babies out of it because, hey, there is no safety net. So white women say, hey, what am I gonna do? I cannot afford to have a baby on my own without money. So I need to go out there and try to find a sugar daddy, and then blow up in the public because apparently Elon Musk was not doing right by his million baby mamas. And but I didn't see the Republican Party saying shit about it, right? The double standard. Now, if you look at my videos, there's a theme here. Now, I complain about Democrats. Oh my God, that's given. Democrats are worthless. So I'm not even gonna bother with them anymore. They're that worthless. They wasted space. Okay, that's Democrats. I wish they don't even. If they burn down the Democratic Party tomorrow, I'll be the happiest. I just want the Republican Party and the rest of us so we can actually do some fighting here. So I'm gonna concentrate on the Republican. If you notice the Republican Party, Elon Musk was doing this shit. He had this million baby mama. He wasn't paying the child support. Right? And they were not talking shit. And not only that, all of them, as we can see with the Epstein files, all of them out there sleeping with people, they're not their spouses, right? And then they have the nerve to talk shit about us, right? I didn't see them making a big fuss about it because, again, the Republican Party is hypocrite. It's hypocrite. They like to scapegoat the impoverished and the poor and talking shit, right? And instead of trying to say, no, we need to reform or change this economic system we have that just it live at the expense of the masses of people, right? And those are my arguments here. But anyway, so that's basically me ranting about baby mama, baby daddy, how real daddies actually behave like that tiger. The tigers, as far as I'm concerned, only thing they care is get their perks with the tiger's mother, right? And that's it. The responsibility typically lay down with the mother there, and he can just go ahead and do it and everything, and he just need to behave with the mother. In fact, there was something funny, another video that I showed my husband yesterday, and I'm glad these people who are there and observe animals' behavior, I really appreciate them because it tells us a lot about not just animals but humans too, right? It's a tiger father, the lion, was over there with the mother and the kids, and he was hushing and trying to beat up the kids, and the mother got so mad, okay, and slap him in the face, okay, right? Slap him. You do not touch my babies. That's what she did. And because he know she has the power, because she has the power of the perks, he behaved himself, all right? So that's the power of a mother, okay? A mother is there to protect the children. And I know right now they're trying to make it something that is not, but the most powerful creature with respect to the proliferation of the species is the mother, okay? The mother. Without a mother, shit won't happening, okay? We will go extinct. So we always have to appreciate mothers. And when we kill, for example, with these words, when we kill people, however old they are, we are disrespecting the effort of a mother, especially the human mother. When you kill a human being, you are disrespecting a human mother and her effort and her sacrifice and everything she put into this, right? You are disgracing. That's why I don't respect the Republican Party when they say they respect life. They do not respect life. They just do not. They hate people, right? Right? So let's just not look at what they do, not what they say, because they're hypocrites, right? If they were respecting human life, if they respect life itself, they would not destroy the planet. They wouldn't do that. If they were respecting life, they would not be racist. If they were respecting life, they will not deprive Hondurans right now, who are the poorest Hondurans, who will not have health care no more because they have taken the health care away from them. If they were respecting life, they will not to mention all the warfare, death penalty, you name it. They're not. They do not respect life. That's the fact. They respect their own personal life because they think the only life that matters is them and their garbage families, right? But that's a degenerate family. The ruling class families and the families of the ruling group is the most worthless because it's the domineering class that disrespect the rest of life. And we should always confront that, fight them ideologically, fight them rhetorically, fight them in whatever capacity we capable of, and not just accept whatever they say as given, because typically it's not what's best for life, but what's best for them and them only, okay? Now, we typically start this show with what's happening in the world. All right. Now, this morning I shared something else on my Facebook page, and that is that is in a response by David North, this gentleman that's a leader in the he is a leader in the international the working, what is that, is the socialist, right? It's a socialist website, right? The world socialist website. He's the leader of them. He's a U.S. citizen. His name is David North. He gave an address responding to the worthless the State of the Union, which he correctly labeled as the State of the Rich. And the response is the non-existent Democratic Party, this worthless party that's here just to crush the aspiration and desire of the working classes, right? That's what a Democratic Party is. It's just to make sure they're not anxious to give us illusion there is some sort of dissenting force that can combat the fascism of the Republican Party, right? So I share that. I hope you watch that. I hope y'all, if you watching me, you are making an effort to see on my page and what I share, because it's some of the things I think about, to get away from the paradigm that is the fascist, colonial, white supremacy, capitalist ethos, into something more humane, something that more concerned with ordinary people, like the poorest people in Venice and Honduras, for example, or the poorest people like me, poorest black folks or poorest or what have you, right? And that's why I'm reading the book. For example, the books we're reading right now with Dr. Parenti, it talks about it. It talks about how this class of people treated the working classes in ancient Rome, right? And so those are my things. Now, by going to what's happening in the world, right? There's something there's Alan Mozarki tweeted this morning, if I can find it. And I was just and I am conflicted about this, and I think I can see he's conflicted too. U.S. have moved all their assets to the Middle East to attack Iran, but I think they are hesitant because they know Iran have a way to respond in a way that's not very predictable to them. And us as a leftist, we don't like warfare, right? We don't. But we know that U.S. is a rogue state. It's gonna do what's gonna do. And then it's just like a dilemma in your head. You like, this is my calculation, and I think that was his calculation, which I'm not gonna read a tweet, but I'm just gonna give you the spirit of the tweet. Is this: on the one hand, we don't want Iran to be attacked by U.S., but U.S. is not gonna stop. One thing about U.S. is this: they're patient. They're patient. When they decided, if you read the papers, they have this plan for over a decade and a half, that they're gonna destroy Iran. There's a think tank papers they call the Road to Persian, right? U.S. ruling classes, the neocon, right? They don't, this is not something that, it's not that they wake up in the morning, we're gonna go attack Iran. No, it's not like that. They have plan. They have a strategic plan. This is a country, the settler colony is an empire. They are replicating the ancient Rome, right? This is a country that literally wiped out almost 100% the indigenous people of this land. Not just here, so it's Canada, right? We're dealing with a class of people that are so evil as to do something like that. They literally wiped off the original. And in Spanish, we say los pueblos originarios, the original people. That's what they did. That's not somebody to be played with. They don't have morals to concern themselves with. They have ethos of conquest, of domination, of extermination, of genocide, of enslavement, of theft, of that's a realm. They don't operate in a realm of human or peace. In fact, in U.S., it's almost illegal to advocate for peace. Yesterday, I share on my Facebook, I think, and then on Twitter, an episode of Dr. Anna Hussein, where he's saying that in Canada, they had a huge rally where the Iranian diaspora and their friends were advocating white degenerates to bomb Iran, right? Imagine that. They are giving the support to the imperialists, to the colonists, to the exterminator, to the genocider, to wipe off their own people in Iran so white degenerates can take over and make it what we see in US, right? Where the majority of people are white folk. And not only that, with all the things that you see in Latin America, one of the things that white degenerates are doing is, if you're Latino, for example, if you are Latino, you originate from some other country in the Americas instead of the North America, they are making your life impossible so you can pack your bags, even if you're citizen, go back to your original place. And then when you're there, that's when they're going to exterminate you. Because white degenerates want to preserve white folk, and I'm talking about Aryan people, as the highest numerical, right? They want to preserve themselves as the higher number. They want to be the majority of human beings, right? So white folk as the white folk are the majority. That's their plan. That's the same thing they have in Palestine, by the way. The Israelis want to preserve Palestinians as a small number and them the high number. That's why they're killing Palestinians as if there's no tomorrow. That's why they kill children. That's why they kill age-bearing women. This is a genocidal group, okay? It's not a joke. It's not me trying to exaggerate. This is the ethos. This is their plan. That's what the Republican Party advocate. They are afraid of people who are not white to be outnumbered them. It's an obsession, right? They're not like me, who is a mulatto, who is insignificant. They're not comfortable living like that on being just the two mulattoes in the whole country. That's not a thing for them. They want to be the majority. In fact, there's studies after studies after studies that show us the white folks actually do not mind people of color. They love them. As long as they're small, though. They don't want people of color to outnumber them. They want to outnumber the people of color for them to feel safe. So that's a genocidal ethos. When you see human being as too much and then you got to exterminate them, right? So that's what's happening here. But anyway, going back to what's happening in the world with the Iran thing. I was just thinking about that too. For me, this is where I'm at with Iran. I do not want Iranian to be killed or Iranian to be destroyed. But this is how I see it. U.S. is not going to stop. U.S. want to destroy the Iranian. And I feel like the only way this can be settled is U.S. going forward with the shit and U.S. being dealt a blow. Okay? Maybe then U.S. can reconstitute something more humane, something more useful, and actually be good to humanity and still being a force of destruction on the planet Earth. Okay? And that's just how I see it. For me, I'm not interested if U.S. doesn't attack. That's not what I care, because I know they're going to do it. And they are doing it. They're trying to hollow out all the internal forces inside Iran. They're trying to destroy everything inside Iran, right? They are sabotaging them. They are doing everything to them that is abusive so they can take over, right? And they can just take over like they have taken over Syria, right? Just like they have taken over Lebanon, just like taken over Libya, just have they take all that region is taken over by white degenerates, right? They send the only holdout is Iran, right? And that's what they want to do. That way they have the whole region, right? And then the Latin America seems like it's already in the camp, right? And that's it. So for me, I just want this to be turned around to a world where we actually have harmony in life and respect human life, instead of these demons, these white degenerates that came from Europe that want to send us to a stone, that just want to wipe us out because they don't see value on black folk, on brown folk, on people who not white degenerates. So that's what's happening in the world as far as I can see. And so now we can go to Dr. Parenti. Again, there's nothing in the family drama. I have not heard anything. My husband has not said anything. Oh, yesterday I shared a video on my YouTube. It's also on my Facebook. But I shared it in YouTube fashion because it's easy to find. When you go to my reels, you're not gonna find. You don't know where the episodes is. It's kind of harder to find on Facebook. It's just more cumbersome. But on YouTube, it's very easy. I label the episodes, and my husband, I was just laughing. But I don't know, my husband was laughing with me because I just feel like these episodes are hilarious to me, and I shared them on my YouTube, and I was talking about a lot of things, and one of them being Karen. So, and I shared that. But anyway, I don't know nothing about the family drama. But as soon as something happened, you damn right, family drama is coming back up. All right, so now we're going to go to the book we started yesterday, The Assassination of Julius Caesar, A People History of Ancient Rome. If I can find it, I had so many things open. Just give me a second. Yeah. I hope I didn't close it. Okay. Okay, yeah, I find it. I'm sorry for the delay. Okay, so we're gonna start the chapter 1. The title is Gentleman History, Empire, Class, and Patriarchy. Alright, then he quote, Rome thus has lost the breed of noble bloods. That's Julius Caesar at 1 scene 2. The reign of history has long been a privileged calling undertaken within the church, royal court, land, state, affluent town house, government agency, university, and corporate funded foundation. The social and ideological context in which historians label greatly influence the kind of history produced. While this does not tell us everything there is known about historiography, it is certainly worth some attention. Historians are fond of saying, as did Benedetto Croce, that history reflects the age in which it was written. The history of seemingly remote events vibrate, quote, to present needs and present situation, close quote. Collingwood made a similar point, quote, St. Augustine looked at Roman history from the point of view of an early Christian. Tillerman from that of a 17th century Frenchman, Gibbon from that of the 18th century Englishman, close quote. Something is left unsaid here, for there is no anonymity in how the people of any epoch view the past, let alone the events of their own day. The differences in perception range from only across the ages and between civilizations. But within any one society at one time, Gibbon was not just, quote, an 18th century Englishman, close quote, but an 18th century English gentleman. In his own words, a, quote, youth, family, and fortune, close quote, enjoying, quote, the luxury and freedom of the wealthy house, close quote. As heir to the, quote, considerable estate, close quote, he attended Oxford, where he wrote the velvet cap and silk gown of a gentleman. While serving as an officer in the militia, he serves in the company of, quote, rustic officers who were alike deficient in the knowledge of scholars and the manners of gentlemen, close quote. To say that Gibbon and his other peers were, quote, gentlemen, quote unquote, gentlemen, is not to imply that they were graciously practicing the etiquette of the fair play towards all persons regardless of their social standing, or that they were endowed with compassion for the more vulnerable of their fellow humans, taking pains to save them from hurtful indignities a real gentleman might do. If anything, they were likely to be unencumbered by such sentiments, uncomprehending of any social need beyond their own selected circle. For them, a quote unquote gentleman was one who sported an uncommonly polished manner and affluent lifestyle, who presented himself as prosperous, politically conservative, and properly schooled in the art of ethno-class supremacism. You hear that? And that's what Donald Trump is about. That's what the leaders, the so-called leaders, they are about. They really don't care about the immense suffering of the ordinary people. They don't. They have internalized. In fact, when I was reading one of the Barack Obama's books, and I think Dreams of My Father or something, the way that motherfucker was trained, in my opinion, it was like he internalized like the misery that he saw in Indonesia where he was living with his stepdad and his mother. It's just like, you do what you have to do so you don't have to be them. That's literally Barack Obama. And he grew up like that. Like he see to them, and like people, misery is an abstraction. The same thing with the ruling class. For you to be in this ruling class, the utter despair of the human beings on earth is an abstract, is par for the course. And we can see that with the veins of Latin America and some of the books that we read, right? They're not disturbed by this level of barbarism. That's why something we saw in Palestine that may shock your conscience does do nothing to them. Joe Biden would just eat ice cream while watching Palestinian babies blowing their brains out. Okay? That's this class of people. They are beyond the pale. And their supporters are equally, and I'm going to talk about white folk here. We know through studies and in history that white folk would take their kids while they're lynching black folk as a spectacle. Okay? So we know that they had trained white people because they're part of the ruling group, the racial group that rule, that they too as a race in generality have internalized anti-human proclivities. Okay? Now this makes me controversial, but I don't give a fuck. And that's what I'm trying to avoid for any other group to be part of this. Like black folk who support the Israelis on any capacity, they get cast out by me. Automatically cast out. In fact, I don't ever want to talk to them again. Anybody that want to treat other people as subhuman can go fuck themselves. Okay? That's where I'm at with this. Alright? I don't subscribe to any of this. Okay? Humans are not meant to be treated like that. They're not meant to be. Humans are meant to be treated with respect and dignity. And don't give me the romantic shit of the survival of the fittest or trying to make Darwinian some sort of romantic shit. Like, oh, this is how it is in the animal world, that the human, we need to behave this way. Go fight yourself with those genocidal garbage. Okay, don't tell that to me. But let's keep going. Like most other people, Gibson tended to perceive reality in accordance to position he occupied in the social structure. As a gentleman scholar, he produced what elsewhere I have called quote, gentleman history, close quote. A genre heavily indebted to an upper-class ideological perspective. In 1773, we find him beginning work on his magnum opus, A History of the Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire. While settled in a comfortable town house tended by a half a dozen servants, being immersed in what he called the quote, decent luxury, close quote, and saturated with his own upper class prepossessions, Edward Gibson was able to look kindly upon ancient Rome's violently acquisitive aristocracy. He might have produced a much different history had he been a self-educated cobbler sitting in a cobble shed, raining through the wee hours after a long day of unrewarded toil. Oh my God, that is so good. Let me highlight. I don't know if I can highlight this. Yes, I finally got it. All right. No incident that the impoverished laborer, even if lyrics seldom had the agency to produce scholarly tomes. Gibson himself was aware of the class reality behind the writings of history. Quote, a gentleman possessed a leisure and independence of the books and talents may be encouraged to write by a distant prospect of honor and reward. But wretched is the author, and the wretched will be the work. Where dearly and diligent is stipulated by daily hunger, close quote. And speaking of this is so true because right now, the so-called leftists, the leftists who treat leftism as a hobby, right? They communists just as a hobby. They're so mad at Dr. Gabriel Rotwell for writing the Who Killed the Pipers Western Marxism. They're calling him a charlatan. They're calling him all this stuff because these people their little stake is being exposed, right? They all mad at him, and I see them on Twitter from 1 to 9. They're just complaining, bitching. Typically, they're white Jew, and for whatever reason, white Jews are just decided they want to preserve this racist shit. You know, like, look, go fuck yourself, including mixed race white Jews, right? Like mulatto white Jew. These I'm like, what the fuck? Like, go fuck yourself, man. Dr. Gabriel did something correct. He paused them. And now they crying like a little bit. You always have to pay attention when people crying like a little bit. See what they cry about, okay? Because all this time they're trying to act like they're centenarians, like they put down Venezuela because it's not at their liking. They are putting down now the Sahara State because it's not. Yeah, Sahara State right now a little bit anti-gay or shit like that and stuff like that. They're little backwards and stuff. But hey, these are underdeveloped people. Don't try to, you've been indoctrinating with Christianity and stuff. What do you expect them to be just like an average cosmopolitan shit on the Chicago and the Boys Town and shit, and they not know everything in that. Go fuck yourself, okay? The first thing is the Sahara still trying to build hospital, trying to build school, trying to build physical things that people need. And then from there, they can progress. I have faith in them. Don't try and impose that shit. And the other fucking Louis Gardner, he's supposed to be a scholar, Dr. Fanon, and then he put down Hamas because he said Hamas are not revolutionary, this theatrical and stuff. Fuck you. It's easy for that stupid bitch to sit on a high horse while Hamas is in the middle being exterminated from planet Earth. Right? Like, who the fuck are you? And he's a black guy. Right? Because his masters are paying him, not degrading Dr. Fanon revolutionary work, trying to associate that bunch of nonsense with the shit. Right? Imagine that. Because Hamas is religious. So, why did you have to, just because Europeans And I heard that somewhere recently. Oh yeah, last night. Yeah, I was listening when Dr. Anna was saying, make sure y'all listen to him. He's religious. He is Muslim. He said that they're trying to impose the European ethos to the rest of us. So if you're religious, you know, then you not, because European, what they did with the religion, they burn down shit, they backwards and shit, and they think every religion is like that. No, maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe not. Okay? Let's just respect each people. And also the majority, if the majority of people want to be religious, that's totally fine with me. That's totally fine with me, as long as they respect the human rights of those people, right? Right? You have to go with the majority say. In this country, the majority are racist white folk, right? I don't like it. I bitch about it. But that's what the majority of people in this country think. They think we should live under the white supremacy. And then why can other people be like that? What the majority of those countries want. Not what you want, but what they want. They don't want to be colonized by you. That's the bottom line. You don't need to colonize them. Right? It's not about you personal concern. It's what the people in the Sahel, Burkina Faso, Nigeria, what they want. Not because you're gay and you don't like the fact they don't like gay people. That's not your business. The gay people in this country, they'll deal with that when they're ready to deal with that. Right? They will deal with that. It's not your place. Do not try to throw everything away. Okay? But let's keep going. No accident that the impoverished laborer, even if illiterate, seldom had the agency to produce scholarly tomes. Gibson himself was aware of the class reality behind the writing of the history. A quote, a gentleman possessed of a leisure and independence of books and talents may be encouraged to write by the distant prospect of honor and reward. But wretched is the author, and the wretched will be the work, where daily diligence is stipulated by daily hunger, close quote. As one who happening with nobility, Gibson harbored the quote, wild theories of the equal and boundless freedom, close quote, of the French Revolution. He was a firm supporter of the British Empire while serving as a member of the parliamentary. He voted against extending liberties to the American colony. Unsurprisingly, he had no difficulty conjuring a glowing pastoral image of the Roman Empire. Quote, the Mississippi and Union were the natural consequences of the moderate and comprehensive policy embraced by the Roman. The obedience of the Roman world was uniform, volunteer, and permanent. The vanquished nation blend into one great people, resigned the hope near even the ways of resuming their independence. The vast extent of the Roman Empire was governed by absolute power under the guidance of virtue and wisdom, close quote. Not a word here about an empire built upon the second town, shattered armies, slaughtered villages, raped women, enslaved prisoners, plundered land, burned crops, and mercilessly overtaxed population. Exactly. Let's keep going. The gentleman historian who lived during the antiquity paint much the same idyllic picture, especially of Rome early epoch. A theme they repeatedly visited was of olden times, of golden times, when men were more given to duty than luxury. Women were chaste and unsprightly devoted to their family patriarchs. Youth were ever respectful of the elders, and common people were modest in their expectation and served valiantly in Rome's army. Reigned during the late Republic, Sallust offered his fairy tale of Roman times earlier than his own. Quote, in peace and in war, virtues, valors, manliness, virtue was held in high esteem, and avarice was a thing almost unknown. Justice and righteousness were upheld Not so much by law as the natural instinct, they govern by conferring benefits on their subject, not by intimidation. Close quote. A more realistic picture of Roman imperialists came from some of his victims. In the 1st century BC, King Mithridates, driven from his land, is northern and Anatolia, wrote, well, the Romans have constantly had the same cause, a cause of the greatest antiquity, for making war upon all nations, peoples, and kings, the insatiable desire for the empire and wealth, close quote. Like the Caldanomia, Chief Cargodos, speaking towards the end of the 1st century AD, observed, quote, you find the Romans an arrogant which is reasonable submission can elude. Brigands of the world, they have exhausted the land by the indiscriminate plunder, and now they ransack the sea. The wealth of an enemy excites the cupidity, his poverty, the loss of power, robbery, butchery, rapine, the liars call empire. They create a desolation and call it a peace. Our loved ones are now being turned from us by conscription to slave in order to slave in other lands. Our wives and sisters, even if they are not raped by enemy soldiers, are seduced by men who are supposed to be our friends and guests. Our goods and money are consumed by taxation. Our land is stripped of its harvest to fill the granaries. Our hands and limbs are crippled by building roads through forests and swam under the last of our pressures. We Britons are sold into slavery anew every day. We have to pay the purchase price ourselves and feed our masters in addition. Close quote. For centuries, Roman historian was considered a particularly genre, much like epic and greedy, concerned with the monumental deeds of great personages, a world in which ordinary men played no role other than a nameless spear carrier and ordinary women, not even that. Antiquity gives us numerous gentlemen chronicles, Homer, Herodotus, Thucydides, Polyidus, Cicero, Leva, Plutarch, Pseudonymous, or Appian, Dio, Caesar. I'm butchering these names. Okay, Dio, Kaiser. So if you know, you can go get my book of Rome that my daughter has here for these. These names my daughter be like, I probably know how to recite all these names. I don't, but she studied Latin and everything. Arcadius, Caesar, Valerius, Maximus, Valerius, Paterculus, Josephus, and Taccio, just about all of whom had a pronouncedly low opinion of the common people. Dio Cassius, for one, assures us that many monarchs are the source of blessing to their subjects, whereas many who live under a democracy were immeasurable evils to themselves. Close quote. Yeah. So dear Sasso, for one, assures us that, quote, many monarchs are source of blessing to their subjects, whereas many who live under a democracy work innumerable evils to themselves, close quote. Like a true fascist, that sounds to me. The political bias of the ancient historian were not entered with their bones. Our historical perceptions are shaped not only by our present social economic status, but by the ideological and class bias of the past historian upon whom we rely. As John Gagger notes, It is difficult to alter our habitual ways of thinking about history because, well, without knowing it, we perceive the past according to paradigms first created many centuries ago, close quote. And the creators of those ancient paradigms usually spoke with decisively upper class accent. In some, Gibson's view of history was not only that of an 18th century English gentleman, but of a whole line of gentlemen historians from bygone times, similarly situated in the upper strata of their respective society. What would have made it difficult for Gibbon to gain a critical perspective of his own ideological limitation, had he ever thought of doing so, was the fact that he kept intellectual company with like-minded scholars of yore and the centuries-old anonymity of bias that is often mistaken for subjectivity. To be sure, there were some few observers in ancient Rome, such as a satirist Juvenal, who offered a glimpse of the empire as it really was, a system of rapacious expropriation. Addressing the proconsul, Juvenal said that, quote, when at last you leave to go out to govern your province, limit your anger and greed, pity um, destitute allies whose poor bones you see sucked dry of the pitch and the marrow. Close quote. In 1919, no conservatives in 1990, noted conservative economist Joseph Schumpeter presented a surprisingly critical picture of Roman imperialism in words that might sound familiar to present-day critics of U.S. globalism. Quote, the policy which pretends to aspire to create but unearnedly generates war, the policy of continual preparation for war, the policy of minimalism interventionism. There was no corner of the known world where some interest was not alleged to be in danger or under actual attack. If the interests were not Roman, they were those of Roman allies. And if the Rome had no allies, then allies would be invented. When it was utterly impossible to contrive such an interest, why then it was the natural honor that had been consulted. The fight was always invested with an aura of legality. Rome was being attacked by evil-minded neighbors, always fighting for a breathing space. The whole world was pervaded by a host of enemies, and it was manifestly Rome's duty to guard against the indubitably aggressive design. Close quote. Still, you see, this is what U.S. is about. It's replica of the ancient Rome. They believe on, like U.S. It only has been existing for how long? For 250 years. And I think they only have been at peace for like 16 years of their existence. It's a country that cannot stop being fighting wars. I'm telling you, and these are demons. They don't believe in peace. They believe in killing people around the clock. I can't respect shit like that at all. I don't respect U.S. state at all. I just don't. It's like the advice. It's like a nuisance. It's so fucking evil. It disgusts me. I get disgusted just thinking about U.S. as a state. Even though everything associated with U.S. just seemed disgusting to me. You know? And the problem with it is you can't escape it. It's pervasive. No matter where you live in the world, You have to deal with the shit. Right? Just like wherever you go, you have to breathe air. That's how US is. It's a degenerate. It's a degenerate. That's why it's easier just to go along with it, because then you have your own life will be easier. That's why it's almost impossible being a leftist. Because to be a leftist, you gotta be against this shit, right? And you're not gonna be happy. It's not a kind of a mode of being that will generate happiness. Although for me, I cannot imagine be a Republican, for example. Because I'm like, what, I'm going to be sociopath? These people happy? I don't think that people are welders. I can't do it. Because I love humans, and I love life, and I don't believe in domination and oppression and people being poor and suffering and taking joy out of shit. That's not the way that's not a way of me to see life. I don't believe some people are superior and others inferior, exceptional, this and that. No, that's not how I see life. I see all life as dignified and precious in my eyes. And they say they believe in God, but supposedly all life on earth is supposed to be precious in the eyes of God. But they actually see things from the God's perspective in that way. You know? I don't believe in some fucking religion over the fucking others and shit like that. I see like people who take joy out of religion as good people, as people, you know, and I should be respected. So it's really fucked up. We have a monster that we don't know how to deal with. But anyway, let's keep going. Still, the Roman Empire has its 20th century apologist, British historian Cecil Robinson attended the familiar imagery of an empire achieved stochastically. Let me tell you what stochastic means. It's just things that happen at random, right? US like to pretend that it's so evil, not because they're intentionally evil, it's because this is random. It's something random, right? That's not an intent to commit genocide and parricide. It just happened it was not intent to exterminate native, it just happened randomly. No, there's nothing about US as is random, okay? It's not stochastic. Do not buy, and Dr. Parenti teaches about it. It's stochastic, okay? It's not. It's intentional. And you just have to read the think tank papers. For example, if they destroy Iran, that's something they've been planning for over 10 years. It's not random. The white degenerates not operating randomly. It's not. They're not random. They're very smart. They're methodical. They're very intentional. Right? Like I said, us people of color outside the imperial course have reduced us to a creature that is in relation to death when the white colonizers get to it. Okay? That's it. It's not random. That's who they have transformed you. They have destroyed the international law. They have destroyed the norms. They have destroyed their own rules so they can exterminate you from earth and take over the land and have the lithium and the natural resources they want and do the things the way they want it. You, the person of color, are just in the way, and you just a waste as far as I'm concerned. So let's not pretend the U.S. operate randomly. This is an evil country that comes back from an ancient Rome. Okay? Let's keep going. Without deliberate design, quote, it was perhaps almost as true of Rome as of Great Britain that that she acquired her world domination in a fit of absence of mind, close quote. And imperialists, without imperialists, a design of conquest devoid of human agency or forethought, such as a notion applies neither to Rome nor to any other empire in history. You hear that? Dr. Parenti not buying it, okay? It's not random, okay? It's, these imperialists are the most methodical. And if you think of that, you're dumb. Let's keep going. Despite the common class perspective, gentlemen historians do not achieve perfect accord on all issues. Gibson himself was roundly condemned for his comment about early Christianity in the Roman Empire. He was attacked as an atheist by clergy and others who believed that their religion had flourished exclusively through divine agency and a morally flawed manner, which is not true, but by the way. Christianity today is known as they love the poor and care for it. Actually, it's just not even true. And I think it didn't start off like that. But anyway, let's keep going. Gibson credits Christianity's divine origin as being the primary impetus for his triumph, but he gives only a sentence or two to that notion, being more interested as a secular historian in the natural rather than supernatural causes of the church's triumph. Furthermore, he does not hesitate to point out instances of worldly opportunism and fanatical intolerance among Christian proselytes. Some readers may find his treatment of the rise of Christianity to be not only the most controversial part of his work, but also the most interesting. Along with his class haters, the gentleman scholar is likely to be a male supremacist. So Gibson described Emperors Severus' second wife, Julia Doma, as, quote, united to a lively imagination, a firmness of mind and strength of judgment seldom bestowed on her sex, close quote. Historians do take note of the more notorious female perpetrators in the imperial family, such as Messalina, wife of the Emperor Claudius, and Agrippina. They tell us that Agrippina grabbed the throne for her son Nero by poisoning her uncle and then her husband. You hear that? Yeah, they did that. She did that. Yeah, she did that. She really did. Because what happened is that she was afraid that her son was not gonna get that because there was other children that could have done that. Yeah, that's how they get down. That's the white bitch. That's how they get. That's where white bitch. That's how they get down. Anyway, let's keep going. Upon becoming the emperor, Nero showed his gratitude to his mother by killing her. Nero was not what we will call a family man. He also murdered his aunt, his ex-wife, and a half brother who had a claim to the throne. Do you see that? I didn't know this, but I don't be reading ancient literature like that. That's why you should be reading Dr. Parenti, because he read everything and we just have to pick up what he read. Let's keep going. Except for a few high-placed and notable lethal females, Roman women are virtually invisible in the works of most gentlemen historians. Even when noticed, they are not likely to be seen as of any consequences. That there were no female historians to speak of in antiquity, nor for many centuries thereafter, only compounded the deficient. In the last few decades, thanks mostly to the emergence of feminist scholarship, the research on Roman women has improved despite the paucity of surviving data. Ordinary Roman women, we know, tended to die younger than their male counterpart because of malnourishment, mistreatment, exhaustion, and childbirth. Almost A half of the Roman brides were under the age of 14, many as young as 12, with consummation coming at the time of marriage, even if before marriage. Women of all ages almost invariably live under the rule of some male, be it a husband, guardian, or paterfamilias, head of the extended family or clan. You hear that? This behavior is, you see, this is why the you call leftists, they want to equate everybody, but that doesn't mean that other civilizations do this shit. But let's keep going. And we know the native would not like that. The native here would not treating women like that. The native were treating women really good until the colonizers came here. And then now the native men beat up their wife, give them alcohol, beat up their wife, do all kinds of shit. It was not like that before, okay? So white supremacy goes everywhere, and then the men misbehave because they learned that from the masters. And then they blame, oh, look at them, they don't know how to treat their wives, when in fact they learned that from them. Let's keep going. Throughout much of Roman history, females were denied individually given names as well as surnames. And by the way, I thank my husband every day for not beating me up. I told him yesterday, man, like, thanks, babe, for not beating me up because I be running my mouth. Because I know my ex-husband cannot put up with my mouth. And, my big mouth. That's the thing. That's why I knew my husband is the one. Because if I had to run my mouth, sometimes I had to run my mouth. Because I live on planet Earth that's ruled by colonizers. How you expect me to just stay here and take it? Yeah, my baby Pilar said, yes, Mama. I think so because I haven't been here for her. All right. Let me just ask a really question. Mommy miss her baby. I love my babies. Alright, so let me keep going. Alright. Throughout much of Roman history, females were denied individually given names as well as surnames. Alright. Prominent gems names such as Claudius, Julius, Lucretius give forth the obligatory feminine derivatives of Claudia, Julia, and Lucretia. Sisters therefore all had the same name and were distinguished from each other by adding the elder or the younger or the first, the second, and the third. Thus, Gia's Octavia's daughters were Octavia the elder and Octavia the younger. They named them and individually named. Identity was one way of creating females as family property, mere fictional derivatives of the paterfamilias. Women of common caste perform such of the wondrous work of society as laundresses, domestic servant, maids, weavers, spinners, and sometimes even construction workers, all in addition to their quotidian household chores. As far as we know, even when they labor in the same occupation as men, they were not permitted to belong to craft guilds, bereft of opportunities for the decent livelihood. Some of the more impecunious females were driven to sell their sexual favors. That's so sad. Prostitution was given standing as an employment and taxed as such. Owning a brothel was considered a respectable venture by some investors. In general, the great mass of poor women had little hope of exercising an influence political issue through numbers. The numbers of them must have participated in public protests. The devoted, self-sacrificing wife was a prized character in Roman reigning. Example abound of matrons who faced exile or risked death to stand fast with their husbands. But Roman patrons could also be rebellious on occasion. As early as 195 BC, they successfully pressured the magistrate to repeal the Lex Oppia, a law passed during the austerity of the Second Punic War, restricting the use of personal ornaments and carriages by women. That they will mobilize themselves in this willful manner surely vexes many a patriot. By the late Republic, approximately 80 to 40 BC, and during the first century of the empire, Roman patrons made a number of important gains relating to marriages, divorce, property rights, and personal independence. Some of them even own substantial property and administer commercial operations. During the civil strife following the Caesar's death, the second triumvirate, triumvirate posted a list of 140,000 I mean, no, not 100. 1,400 particularly wealthy women whose property was to be assessed. The women organized a protest in the forum before the magistrate tribunal and demanded to know why they had to share in the punishments of the civil war when they had not collaborated in the crime. Well, why will we be taxed when we have no share in magistrate or honors or military commands or in public affairs at all? Where your conflicts have brought us to this terrible state, close quote. Whatever influence women exercise in business affairs, they never gain full civil rights, nor could they sustain such visibility on the political landscape. And by the way, like conservative men, white men want to put women back like this, just treat them any kind of way, you know? Like, can you imagine, like, conservative white men want to put women? I'm like, y'all so fucking dumb. Why would a woman be put a second class over you? There's some group of black white men who don't even want their wife to go to somebody else, their friend's house, because they don't want their wife to be empathetic. They don't want to vex their children. It's so many bad things happen in white families in U.S. It's sickening. There's so much abuse and it's not being talked about because hey, we can't talk about white folk because the white folks are perfect. Nothing is happening in white life, but it's a lot of shit going on with white folks and nobody's talking about it. Abusing women and abusing children is rampant in white families right now. And you gotta be elected to know these things because there will be from time to time we get exposed to that. You know, it's so messed up because black people they do say they put it on TV because the Negroes always a problem, but they don't talk about what happening in white families out here, especially about conservative backwards men, right? Like abusing the wives and children. White women not being abused. And nobody talking about it, especially poor white women. Nobody's talking about it. But let's keep going. Upper class wives had the reputation of being overly generous with their sexual favor. Salus clocks about the women who quote, publicly sold their chastity, close quote. Horace fumes about the patron who become well practiced, quote, and Lou loves the sick younger adulteress while her husband at wine, close quote. Writing early in the second century AD, Juvenal seemed to anticipate the venomous misogyny that would soon pour from the pens of the Christian church fathers. Roman patrol, he tells us, are wanton hussies engaged in the illicit pursuit at the expense of the helpless cockholes who are their husband. You hear that? Juvenile data is good there. Mm-mm. They had long discarded the virtuous devotion of their forebears, along with the quote, naturally female close quote, traits of modesty, chastity, and domestic servitude. In like fashion, a historian from the on era registered his disapproval of the growing sway exercised by high placed and Providence women in the late Republic whose quote unwholesome influence close quote endanger a quote growing license close quote and quote the must to debase the moral and social standard of the day close quote. This is the shit that this is the garbage that Marco Rubio want to take us back to for social cohesion when women are treated like this. No, thank you, Marco Rubio. We're not going back. It's like Dr. King used to say, I came to ask for my check and nobody is going to turn me around, okay? No. Let's keep going. In truth, Roman patrons were doubtless no more promiscuous than their husbands, whose own commonplace dalliance were largely overlooked, given the double standards of the day. Under the patriarch system, a man was free to kill an allegedly unfaithful wife, while himself patronizing prostitute or keeping a concubine. The codes against adultery initiated by Emperor Augustus were aimed at wives with no prohibition imposed upon husbands. One of the many Roman writers who see only virtue in Rome's earliest epoch and decadence in their own time is Valerius Maximus. He appropriately cites examples of husbands of yore who divorced a wife or otherwise treated them severely for acting in what we might consider mildly independent ways, such as walking abroad with head uncovered, talking to a common free woman, or attending public games without their husband's knowledge. Quote, while women were thus checked in the old days, they might stay away from wrongdoing, close quote, Valerius assures us. Powerful men such as Julius Caesar often treated women from a well-placed families as disposable strategic assets to be battered and arranged marriages designed to fortify one's fortune or help forge political coalition, a practice that continued within the European aristocracy circles down through the ages. Women were also a source of sensual disinvestment for Caesar as for most other Roman men. A few, such as his first wife, Cornelia, his longtime mistress, Servilia, and his last years, Cleopatra, they win Caesar's love through none could ever claim exclusive command of his sexual attention. Many Roman husbands were hopeless philanderers who fixed upon loveless marriages to advance their careers, pocket ample worries, or simply enjoy a convenient concubine. What is it? Concub, concubine. Still, there were instances of the conjurer links being forced. Valerius gives several examples of husbands who were stricken at the loss of their wives. Okay. So does the younger Pliny, who himself expressed genuinely love for his wife. Along with, and I'm quoting here for young Pliny, along with the gender bias, oh no, actually, I'm not quoting. Along with the gender bias, some gentlemen historians let slip a noticeable ethno-class bigotry. The progenitor of our historian of the late Republic is Cicero, hailed by Borden as, quote, perhaps the most civilized man who had ever lived, close quote. Cicero has been revered by classic professors and Latin teachers throughout the ages. The most civilized man was not about stoking the crassest ethno-class prejudice. Caesar sneered at the Greeks and Jews, both the slave and the freedom among them, who relied to the side of the democratic leaders, declaring that, quote, men of those nations often throw our assembly into confusion, close quote. The Greeks are given to, quote, shameless lying, close quote. The Jews to, quote, barbaric superstition, close quote. Some later historians have taken the cue from Cicero. Theodore Monson described the Roman Forum as a shout-out fest for, quote, everyone in the shape of a man, close quote, with Egyptian, Jews, and Greeks, both free men and slaves, being the loudest participant in the public assemblies. Cyril Robinson knows that many proletarians were, quote, of Greek or Oriental origin, whose loose and feeble character make them bad citizens, close quote. The, quote, purity of Roman blood began to be contaminated by the admixture of this alien element, close quote. Those of, quote, Oriental blood, close quote, were, quote, incapable of assimilating the national habits of decency and restraint, close quote. Although, quote, not all Greeks, of course, were vicious or unwholesome characters, close quote. You see, this is where, who was it? The name on the Queen's College in London, this Canadian settler complain about the people cannot assimilate, because if you cannot assimilate, you have to be despoiled. It's just sickening. This is racist, man. I can't stand racist freaks. But let's keep going. J.F.C. Fuller tells us that Rome, quote, Latin stock was increasingly Mongolized as the Greek, Asiatic, Spaniards, Gaul, and other slaves were absorbed through manumissions and became citizens, close quote. See? They don't like us, the mongrels. They do not like us. These purists, these racists, that's what Republican Party is about. They want to preserve pure whites. Like when you look at them, you cannot question this is a white person. That's who they want. That is the obsession. That's why the genocides have to take place. Expulsion, treat people as less than human. To preserve purity. Because they are afraid of mongrel lies. Actually, they don't even hate black folks. That's why people who are obsessed with pure black, like literally extremely dark skin, extremely like you cannot question their black. That's what they want. The white, the racists, they like purity. Okay, that's why when you start talking about purity, you lost me a million years ago, because that sounds genocide to me. That sounds genocide, you know. I'm not interested in purity. And then black folks trying to say, oh, the problem is mulattoes. No, mulattoes, we the insignificant. You know, like they wanna attack us. Like how far do I have? I don't have far. You know what I mean? You know, and actually, don't. Purity is the thing. Trying to purify life. When you're trying to purify life, you get to eugenics. You get to genocide, right? Because that's what it is. They want to preserve purity of human, a pure human. That's what they want. That's racist. That's genocidal. That's anti-life. Let people do their thing. You know, of course, there's stuff that we need to make, like incest should not take place. For example, that's no, because that's a violation of secrets. But you just want to preserve a pure human or pure stuff, that's an abomination. Okay? It's disgrace. It's also bad for you health-wise. We know, for example, that Scandinavian Jews, because they sleep with each other constantly, look, they get diseases that a lot of those kids can make up to the third birthday. Why go through that? It's not good. Fuck the purity of shit. I advocate for mongrelize. That's what I advocate for. Okay, let's keep going. Another thing, classistic Jerome Carcopino flirts with a racist blood theory of history, written that interbreeding between Roman aristocrat and the female slave or free women, followed by frequent emancipation or adoption of the offspring, left, quote, many of the best families of the city infected with an actual hybridization similar to that which have more recently contaminated other slave-owning people, close quote. My God. This mixture breeding, quote, strongly accentuate the national and social decomposition, close quote, of Rome. Alright? See why the fascist Republican Party are picking up? This is the shit they want us to deal with. In ancient Rome, as in societal before since, class oppression was supported by class bias. The lowly were considered low because of deficiency within themselves. Class bias, in turn, was often bolstered by ethnic prejudice. Many of the poor, both slave and free, were from, quote, barbarian, close quote, stock, and this further fueled the tendency to load them as wastrels and vagrants, troublesome contaminants of respectable society. So ethnic and class bias conveniently devoted for those who look at the world that hung in us, and this includes not only the lives of Cicero, but many of the writers before him. Oh my God, thank you, Dr. Parenti. I love you so much. And so that's chapter 1 of this book. Gentlemen, History, Empire, Class, and Patriarchy. Okay, so that's Dr. Parenti right there. I mean, I don't really need to pontificate. I do it because I do it, but literally the reading is so clear. And this is the shit that the Republican Party want to subject us to, or we are being subjected to. It's just that the Republican Party are just more open about it, right? So we had to reject it. We don't want it. We just do not want it. We want to be free. We want all people on earth to be treated. That's why they don't like Latin America, because Latin America is too mixed. It's just mixed race people. They hate mixed race folk. I'm mixed race. The human you're looking at right here, I'm a mixed race woman. My mother is Spaniard, white from De Verga, Asturias. My father, African, from Equatorial Guinea and Otero Samo. I'm a mixed race and I do just fine. There's nothing wrong being mixed race. We don't need to do all this shit to kill people just to prevent that from happening. Alright? Fuck purity. Fuck purity of anything. I don't give a fuck. I don't try to present extremely white skin or extremely black skin. I'm comfortable with brown skin. Okay? I don't care. If you subscribe to those barbaric, racist, disgusting ideas, you can go fuck yourself. Okay? And with that, we're gonna finish up with our favorite manifesto with Victor Jara.
At Granger, we have over 1 million products, including the ones that help keep your workplace safe.
Free Palestine.
Yo no canto por cantar, ni por tener buena voz. Canto porque la guitarra tiene sentido y razón. Tiene corazón de tierra y alas de palomita. Es como el agua bendita, santigua glorias y penas. Aquí se encajó mi canto, como dijera Violeta. Guitarra trabajadora con olor a primavera. Que no es guitarra de ricos, ni cosa que se parezca. Mi canto es de los andamios para alcanzar las estrellas. Que el canto tiene sentido cuando palpiten las venas del que morirá cantando las verdades verdaderas, no las lisonjas fugaces, ni las famas extranjeras, sino el canto de una lonja hasta el fondo de la tierra. Ahí donde llega todo y donde todo comienza. canto que ha sido valiente, siempre será canción nueva, siempre será canción nueva, siempre será canción nueva.